Hey, Nam.
Hey, buddy. I
Mortal
got
Kombat!
I got my friend here. He's the Eternal Dam.
Yes.
The Eternal Dam. He's gonna
Yes.
come and join us.
Eternal damnation.
He keeps telling me to get over here, and I keep telling him, I was like, in a minute.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this special episode as part one of a trilogy that is the Mortal Kombat, as we go through the best, the worst, and the newest Mortal Kombat. And I want to just go ahead and clarify this now, Nam. Agree or disagree? Is the Mortal Kombat theme song still the best video game theme song for a movie?
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's
I
like
agree.
once I heard that, I was like pumped. I was hyped. But then again, I shouldn't be like that because I shouldn't just get hyped. I should always stay hyped.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, that Mortal Kombat song by all means was like, I think when we were younger it was like number one on like the TRL and all that stuff like that for like the
Everywhere.
long.
Everywhere.
It was that song, and I think it was Gangsta's Paradise. I think that was the song that came with it. So I mean, for Mortal Kombat to be up there with Gangsta Paradise, I mean, you gotta say, man, it's a pretty banging song.
Yeah, especially like it was during the time where house music was really popping off in the realm. Like people just want that fast music and everything like that. And I think like honestly, who would have thought that that Mortal Kombat song, in hindsight, it's kind of a silly song, would have been just hype, but this is that beat that just gets you going, pump or anything, man. I think people were using that to work out, you know?
Yeah, I do. I do occasionally.
Okay. You know, people go running with it and everything like that. It's so crazy that that song has not been back implemented as like an inside joke in the Mortal Kombat video games. Just for the fact to just have it in the game itself would be hilarious. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
especially on the outro, like an ending where you get like the ending of the movie or ending of the game or something like that.
yeah. And like the only song that makes sure you know all the characters' names.
Unless you get them all mixed up somehow.
Yeah, right. So 1995, Mortal Kombat came out, leading after the Street Fighter movie, and this was during the time when Mortal Kombat was getting the big conflict of violence in video games. Everybody knows the story behind that and whatnot. And so the fact that we got this movie, really excited me when I was younger, because I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like we haven't seen anything this violent for a video game movie like ever at the time, and just seeing all those badass characters fight and everything like that with amazing CG and all that stuff that was awesome for the 90s. It really hyped me up to go watch that. Definitely went to go see that without my parents knowing, I believe, I want to say, or I snuck over someone's house and we watched it on tape at the time. But that movie itself made me fall in love with more Mortal Kombat after, continuing with 3 and then Ultimate and all that stuff. What's your thoughts on the Mortal Kombat?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was always a Mortal Kombat guy, anyways. I liked Mortal Kombat more than I liked Street Fighter during that craze of video games during that time. It was either Street Fighter or it was Mortal Kombat, and I was always Mortal Kombat because it always felt like Mortal Kombat was like that underdog. But then again, Mortal Kombat was also the one that created the ultra violence, but also had a sense of realism because they were the first to actually basically use people to actually be the characters in the game. So that was revolutionary for us. I mean, think about that. That was the mid '90s, right? Early '90s. So like whenever they came out with the movie for it, I was like, I have to watch this movie because I mean, it's based on a video game that I enjoy very much, and just like any other video game movies, I think we all got suckered into since we were young gamers, young little pup gamers. Back in the day, whether we went to go watch Street Fighter, which we talked about in our previous episode, which you guys should check out as well. Double Dragon, which I didn't actually watch in theaters, so Jerome, take that.
So
Super Mario Brothers and stuff like that. So I had to go see this movie. At the moment I saw the trailer, I was like, yeah, we're doing this.
So, who was your fighter of choice, and did they perform well in this movie to you? Now that we're talking, like right now in the present, like what you remember about the movie, who was your favorite character? Do you remember them still being great? What's your thoughts on that?
So my favorite character is not this guy. Is the blue version of this guy. I think if you go and play the song, it's Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero was always my guy, and he in the movie. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. But I was excited to see Sub-Zero in the movie, and of course, I mean, you had to have Scorpion and Sub-Zero because that was like that was like a Ken and Ryu of a Street Fighter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had to have Sub-Zero and Scorpion into this movie. The fact of the matter is it's funny watching, or not really watching the movie yet. We hadn't watched the movie yet, but it's funny thinking about the movie then and thinking about it now, how much the story has actually progressed, and there's actually a backstory behind all of it, because there wasn't really a backstory behind a lot of this stuff. I mean, there was, but it wasn't like great. And you know, it's going to be interesting to kind of see, because I spent many of hours of watching YouTube, watching Mortal Kombat 9, 11, and 10, just watching like the little cutscenes that they have, which actually makes a fairly good movie, surprisingly enough. Then it's just kind of like the lore that they keep releasing out with, like, you know, the Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero's Revenge, or not Sub-Zero's Revenge, Scorpion's Revenge, and stuff like that, which someday we'll end up talking about. Obviously not on our current list, but we will eventually.
Yeah, and let's not forget Sub-Zero had his own little game later that didn't do very well, like a venture fighting game for him,
which I was excited for. I'm not gonna lie. The Kung Lao, was it Kung Lao or Liu Kang one? Kung Lao one.
They both had a duo together. It was a duo game. It was a co-op fighting game and whatnot.
Kung Lao one was alright. So what about you, man? Who was your favorite character?
Man, Sub-Zero was also mine, but I was a Luke Cage person too. And
Luke Cage.
Yeah, because that bicycle kick was lethal, you know, at the time.
Right.
Yeah, Luke Cage, or is
Luke Kang?
Luke Kane. God, not Cage. I'm mixing my names. Luke Kane. Yeah, sorry, Luke Kane.
I heard bad. Luke Cage. I was like, Luke Cage is black.
I will take all fatalities towards me for that. Yeah, so yeah,
it's all good, dude.
So Luke Kane, he was my boy with the bicycle kick, the fire shot. You know, all these little performances that he did. And I remember he was awesome in the movie. I'm kind of fuzzy right now what the movie is, so I can't wait to go back and rewatch it. But I remember him. I don't remember. I'm trying to think. Did he ever do the bicycle kick in this movie? I'll have to remember that. I think he did. I know he did the long darted kick. You know, the long.
I don't know if he does the bicycle kick in this one or if he does it in the second one.
Yeah, we'll have to find.
out. I know there's a lot of things I'm sure that we kind of remember in this movie. There's a lot of things we probably forgot.
Yeah. But I think if I had to say also on top of that what my favorite fatality was, I have to give it to Scorpion. He had my favorite fatality of the ripping the mask and then like burning up the victim. That was pretty crazy.
That was pretty cool.
But for anybody else that don't know how to do those fatalities, like the number one everybody does is the famous uppercut, and then they fall in the bed of spikes down below. you know?
Easiest one with Liu Kang, where you just circle your joystick around and hit the button.
Yeah,
and it just happens.
So with that, let's talk about the trailer that we revisit to talk about right now. So wow, it's a lot longer than I thought. I thought the Mortal Kombat trailer was a lot shorter. So I was like, just a minute, and I was like, oh wow, they threw a lot up in here, and it was all chopped up. Like there was a lot of in and out scenes of what's all going on. Some of it was a little confused to the point of like, where are they going? kind of idea. And the fact that like they showed a lot. They showed everybody that was going to be in this movie. Like no hidden behind the curtains of like who else is in this. They showed here's everybody in this movie. I have to still give that movie credit. I love the setting, not so much the CG. but the setting, like kudos on where like the fighting where all this happened, really really cool how they set that up at the time. What about you?
So looking at the trailer, I was just like, man, they showed you places and they showed you fights, and I could tell that this movie knew the audience that they were going for. It didn't seem like they were going for anyone casual at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because if anyone asked you what this trailer was about or what this movie was about, they would be like, it's a bunch of people fighting.
Mm-hmm.
That is all you see. A bunch of people fighting with some hype music.
Yeah.
Because, you know, guys, let's give it up for House. And that was about it. The graphics were like, you know, whatever. You know, for the 90s, that was wonderful. You know, for us, it was exciting. But for 2021, we were just kind of like, yeah, probably better than the Scorpion King still. But but you know, what can you say? You know, it's a movie of the 90s, but that trailer told you nothing other than there was a bunch of people fighting on it. They didn't even tell you it was on an island.
No.
They didn't tell you anything. Like, this is like, this dude is like, oh man, two Asian people just hating on each other for some reason.
And death. Like, there's going to be a lot of death.
Yeah. And like, legitimately, like, if I was a casual person who knew nothing about Mortal Kombat, I don't know if I'd want to watch this movie at all. Like, because I'd have no idea what's going on. It's like that flaming chicken over there.
Right. I agree. I agree that like this movie can easily turn me off to like, okay, I'll watch it when it comes out later on like video or something like that. But just straight up, it's like none of the like. Let's be honest here. Like, really, all the characters look too weird. It's like, what's with the guy with the middle eye? What's with the guy with the thing coming out of his arm? You know, like.
Yeah.
What are these? What is going on here? You know, and then you have this cool guy Johnny Cage with glasses. Like, where are we?
Yeah. If we think he's cool, I mean, you have Johnny Cage in there. Yeah, just like if you got a dude with glasses who just got a white dude with glasses. He seems so white. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, and then you get Rayden, the guy, you know, Lambert with his like long white hair, just like kind of looking at the camera, like. Yeah, like, who are you?
Exactly, and you know what's funny about that is you can just tell that's a wig, dude. Like,
yeah,
and you can just tell that's a wig.
Yes,
it's like that looks absolutely wrong. The only, you know, and the crazy thing about the trailer too, and about this movie, you know, thinking about it going back in the 90s is like. You literally knew only like maybe 3 characters in this movie, as far as 3 actors in this movie, maybe at the best. Like Christopher Lambert is probably the biggest actor that you would know from Highlander
right
fame, which we've talked about too. You can check that out in our archives as well. And Liu Kang's character as well. He played in Jungle Book.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, the other one. Yeah, when okay, that was him, wasn't he? Gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he played in Jungle Book and some other movies that came out after this movie. But
okay,
I was gonna say, as far as and then next Sonya, those are the only 3 notable characters you may know, and obviously you would probably know Christopher Lambert, but everyone else, Shang Tsung, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like you really have to follow a lot of martial arts movies to actually know that guy. But I'm just like, you know, maybe. So it's interesting because now that we think about it, you know, we went to go watch this movie. They really took a shot at it, saying it's like, hey, you know, people watch this movie because it's Mortal Kombat, not because of the actors in this movie, which, you know, is contrary to Street Fighter, which they, you know, starred Jean-Claude Van Damme. Who we might have said, you know, made or didn't make that movie. With Mortal Kombat, you know, at this point, you just got to go in there for the fighting, the violence, and then see what they got going on for them.
Yeah, I will say one thing before we wrap this up. The actor that plays Shang to this day has not aged like one bit. So much that like Put him back in the newest one. And so,
Yeah, they should put him out in the newest one. They made his character in Mortal Kombat 11, I think, right?
yes, and he looks
It was
awesome.
he looks exactly the same. I'm gonna tell you, that's the good thing about having Asian genes, man. I'm just saying.
Nice. All right, so we're going to go revisit our childhood with this pick, and we'll come back to tell you our thoughts.
Yes, and after we watch this, get back over here to listen to us talk about this. And we are back. We are back. We are back. As if we had this 1 week delayed from the trailer talk. We are back.
I like to say for the listeners, if you go to our YouTube, Nam has a special thing going on in the background.
Yes, I do. I have Mortal Kombat going on in the background. And the reason why I have Mortal Kombat is because you don't want to see this face. You want to pay attention to this while we talk. You're so used to listening to us on podcasts. That's a good reason. So Mortal Kombat 1995, released August 18, the year I just said. With a runtime of 101 minutes, this budgeted for $18 million of budget of $18 million. So actually not, in 2021, when we look back at it, we're just like budgeted $18 million. Like we can see that.
Mm-hmm.
But back at that time, we didn't necessarily feel it that way. Did a box office of $124.7 million. So
take your time.
Movie, huh?
So take your time. Take your time. We got time.
So how long has it been since you've seen this movie?
Over a decade.
Has it been over a decade?
Oh yeah. I remember watching it, I think a year after it came out, and then maybe one more like a couple years after that, but never. So it's like revisiting, but don't remember. I remember the parts. I remember certain parts that I did remember, mainly Johnny Cage's part, but not really anything else. There was one. Actually, no. There was one fight. There was one fight in there, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I will say this: when they hired him, the director, they said that he knows how to use his money for the movie. Like he knew he was good with a budget, and let me tell you, he wasn't wrong. He used that money the best he could with it. And from this movie on, you can understand why the other movies are the way they are.
Or you mean you're talking about Annihilation?
No, he didn't do Annihilation. So
you mean his
movies in general, the director. Yeah.
It's actually interesting. The director didn't actually know how to do CGI or didn't know anything about CGI before doing this movie.
And fight scenes.
Yeah, and fight scenes. In fact, he didn't know. He kind of winged a lot of the stuff he did. When I was reading through some of the stuff, he was I think he talked himself into it. He talked the people to hire him and bringing him into it. But once he got the job, he had to go to like libraries and bookstores and everything that he could and get every information he could about CGI and things to kind of help him kind of get through this movie, which we can tell.
Yeah.
I think we can tell. The cool thing about it, I didn't realize this game was actually Mortal Kombat, the game itself. I didn't realize that this game was created because of Terminator 2, the arcade game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Terminator 2, the arcade game, did so good, obviously in arcades, that they came up with this idea that the people who came up with Mortal Kombat, they came up with this idea and brought it forward, talked about it as being the next big arcade game. And that's just kind of how it went, because whoever they showed it to was like, oh yeah, we love this. We love this. We think it's going to be like merchandising, video games, movies, and all that stuff. So it was actually kind of interesting. And Midway themselves were actually had to be convinced to actually turn this into a movie. So definitely interesting too as well. As we go and talk about this movie, which we'll get to the movie, just to let you know, the game creators didn't actually have very much influence in this movie. So
definitely could tell that.
We can also definitely tell that as well. All right, man. So getting into this movie, let's talk about the setup. The setup to the movie. Basically, let's talk about because the way the movie started was a sense of wanting to give reason and how each of our main characters got to the tournament. Did any of that seem memorable to you?
No.
At all? And I was going to say,
a lot of no's.
Yeah, like I remember Johnny Cage's, and we'll talk about Johnny Cage's. But I mean, did you feel that? How did you actually feel about the intro? About basically trying to set up the whole ordeal of here's the three individuals, here's their individual stories, sort of, and how we're going to get them to this tournament. Like, how did that make you feel? What did you think about it?
It felt rushed. It just felt like that they just wanted to hurry up and get you guys to know these characters and learn about them once they get into the tournament, right? From Sonya Blade going after a criminal that is, Kano, to Luke. Everybody had a goal except really Johnny. Johnny got, what's the word I'm looking for? Conned? He kind of got conned getting into it, per se.
Yeah.
But the other two had a purpose, right? Like, Sonya was going to go because he's after the criminal Kano. Luke Cage is after Shang for his brother's death. But, Johnny was conned into it by, Shang dressing like somebody, like, would you say his master or just like...
Yeah, it was his master.
His master saying, hey, man, you want people to take you seriously? You got to go to the tournament. So, but it was just really too quick. So quick that they really ignore things that was around them. For instance, like, when they decided to raid that underground club to go after Kano and them.
Yeah.
And yet, like, they were shooting and all this stuff, but, like, the rock band and the club still kept going like they didn't exist at all. And that was kind of weird.
I was going to say the same thing. I was just like, this dude shoots an Uzi into the crowd at Sonya and them, and like nobody in the background died.
No, not even acknowledge it. That's the weird part about it.
I mean, it's like even most of the movies that we've actually talked about, man, like somebody did something, they like ran.
Yeah. I might have accepted if one person ran and the other people didn't care. But it's like, one person, please, just acknowledge that something's going on right here. Except for
the main characters and the villain, right?
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and then Luke Cage, got straight to the temple, wants to fight, wants to be the chosen one, all this stuff. It just felt rushed. They just want to hurry up and get to the tournament.
Yeah, it was actually really interesting because I like the direction that they went with wanting to show stories for each of the characters, but the stories for each of the characters sucked. Like, it really made no sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea. It's like, all right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to set you up by showing you a little bit of the people that you're going to follow. But, like, when they showed it, it wasn't all that great. Because, I mean, Liu Kang started off with the whole Shang Tsung killing his brother at the very beginning, him waking up because there's a dream, right? Which is actually kind of funny because it really doesn't make any type of sense, right? Because, I mean, it's like, Liu Kang, were you there when your brother died? Is that how your brother died?
I know. That is weird, right? It's like, man, that is a particular detail of that.
Yeah, it's like, did Shang Tsung send this to? Did they send this to you? Because he looked at the autograph. He looked at the
letter.
The letter, the telegram. That's what they call him. He looked at the telegram and was like, Liu Kang, your brother's dead. You got all that from just reading your telegram?
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
That's a little weird.
You know what, Jeremy, is like when we decide to make a video or something like that, you should just be like, send me a telegram that says what's up, and I'll be like, oh shit, Jeremy's in trouble.
Yeah.
and just
and make sure when you read it, you're in that overly green light in the room.
Oh yeah, that's one thing we'll definitely talk about too, because there was some distracting lighting that was going on.
Did you feel? I was gonna say. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but did you feel like that Enter the Dragon was an influence to this first part?
Dude, I think Enter the Dragon was an influence throughout this entire movie. We're gonna have to call out those parts where if we ever get to just like talking about those things, we're like Enter the Dragon. All right, moving on. Yeah. And next also, so the next scene, kind of like because we already established that it makes no sense with the Liu Kang thing. The Sonya Blade Jax scene where they're in the club scoping out trying to find Kano, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why?
Right. No details of what did Kano do?
Yeah, it's like, why? They're in Hong Kong. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they in Hong Kong? Like, it's funny because Liu Kang, which, by the way, for the people who are listening, sorry, Robin Shou didn't play in the Jungle Book. That's my bad.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh, I'm so disappointed.
He did do Beverly Hills Ninja right after this one. And
that's right, with Chris Farley. That is, yeah.
Yeah, and he did Dead or Alive afterwards. But I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
This is his first major movie. Liu Kang was in the U.S. and Sonya and Jax were in Hong Kong. So, but we have no idea why these two are so hell-bent on getting Kano, like, at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even the people who know Mortal Kombat have no idea why.
No.
Because, I mean, that story didn't get fleshed out until a little bit later on. But, I mean, it's like, why do we care,
All right. Like I said, man, they just wanted to hurry up and get going because you know that Shang was basically the puppet master of all this coming together, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they just wanted to hurry up and get all the characters established, like Rayden, which, by the way, how is Rayden spelled? Because when I watch it on Amazon, the movie is establishing it's spelled Rayon, and then and then it's not. Like, it's weird. Like, how did you mess up spelling Rayden's name?
Yeah,
what?
Exactly.
What? even I don't even understand why Rayden's there. Like, I get what he is, but I don't get why he's here.
Yeah. And that brings us to the next thing too. Oh, actually that doesn't bring us to the next thing, but yeah, I do agree with you. Like, the whole Rayden thing at the temple isn't quite there. So far we established that Liu Kang somehow has telepathic powers to figure out his brother died and how his brother died. And exactly what Shang Tsung looked like because everyone apparently knew what Shang Tsung looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the club, 50 Cent must have been in the club because ain't nobody paying attention to bullets flying. Man, that is some Def Jam stuff right there. I'm telling you, they were banging, like, for real,
banging.
And then, which we have no idea why Sonya and Kano have this beef.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to Johnny Cage, which I think was probably the best setup in this.
Johnny Cage, my boy.
Yeah, within the first three, I think Johnny Cage setup was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense that he went to the movie set. You're not quite sure what was going on. He does the fight scenes, and it's obviously you find out that it's a movie set because he kicks the stunt double, but the stunt double doesn't go down. And he's just like,
"This is the part where you fall." Yeah.
And the dude's like, ugh.
But he took that punch like a champ. Like, he took the punch and kicks like a champ, showing that, like, is Johnny really that strong?
He did take that like a champ, and then next, right afterwards he runs into his director because he's mad at the director for the crap stuntman that he had. Which, I mean, you can understand why he went all Christian Bale on the dude.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, it was a little upsetting, right? Then he tells the director he's going to leave. Then he walks and he finds what we think is his master in the chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his master, which basically tells him is like, you need to go to this tournament because it's the tournament, right? It's kind of alluding to why he is one of his weaknesses, which later on Rayden talks about. But we really don't know why he's so insecure about it, but you can kind of see hints of it.
Yeah.
Which is I think, to me personally, I think it was actually a good setup. In fact, this was probably if I'm not mistaken, this was the longest setup scene out of the three, because this one actually lasted 3 minutes, and I actually looked at the times on this one.
Good for you.
3 minutes.
Good for you.
Because I sat there and I was watching like Liu Kang, which was like 30 seconds, it felt like literally felt like 30 seconds to a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sonya Blade's one was like 30 seconds to a minute. Like when you said it was like rushed, you weren't kidding.
Yeah.
Like literally 3 minutes was the fastest they did on the setup out of those three characters. 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and that was Johnny Cage's run.
Yeah, like compared to Enter the Dragon, it was a good 20 minutes probably before they even like got the party started, So
oh yeah.
It makes me think of like was this movie. It almost felt like the movie had a certain time they needed to fill in. They didn't. I don't think he got free range of how long he wanted this movie to be. That's what it felt like. Because I'm pretty sure if he had more time, I think he would have stretched out those three main characters.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, because this part is where we'll go ahead and compare it to Enter the Dragon here. It's like, I think that's the part about the Enter the Dragon that we picked up, right? Like, even if you didn't necessarily have to show Sonya Blade and Johnny Cage and kind of get a gist of them, maybe just like a little glimpse, kind of what they did, Liu Kang should have been more of a star here, in my opinion, because he's the guy that you believe throughout this entire movie is the guy that's going to save the world, right?
Yeah, well, he's the only one that has the connection to the villain. No other character has the connection to the villain except Liu Kang. So that makes sense why he should be the star.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I feel within the earlier three here, I think there should have been more emphasis with him. And I think they tried to touch on it because what you said before and where we're going to next, the scene with the temple and the monks. Mm-hmm. Where he goes in there and he's just like, I'm here to avenge my brother. I was like, is that all? Oh, and fight for Earth Realm.
Oh, yes. I forgot. We're fighting for the fate of the world.
He's like, did I forget something? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then Rayden shows up. So this whole in particular scene, for me, I kind of laughed about, honestly, and I felt that it made Liu Kang look stupid. Like, absolutely stupid. Because, I mean, a person that you're supposed to like in this movie, right? Mm-hmm. In the video games, we like him. But this person that's the main character that you're supposed to like, you really are just kind of like, all right, so you want revenge on your brother who you don't have a clue who killed your brother and nor really know the situation. You just got told on a telegram that said, Liu Kang, your brother's dead. So you didn't even go to the temple to find out what happened, per se. You just kind of assumed everything that had happened.
He's like, you gonna do this in front of everybody? You gonna take me to the side and tell me this? You gotta embarrass her?
And like, I was sitting here watching this scene, and I was sitting there going to myself, it's like, so technically speaking, later on they tell you that you have to lose 10 tournaments to lose to your realm, right? To the Outland World realm. So does that mean there's 9 dead other monks too? 8, including Liu Kang's brother?
here's my question for you. He said from Elder Realms. So is this maybe this is where this one's going to be for the final one? This is the first time for them? I don't know, because then you say such his brother died. So like, how many times did they fight in this realm? But they said there's mentioned other realms. So how many times has this realm been fought in the tournament out of those 10? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of questions that I have more questions than I had answers. Because I was sitting there, it's like, so how long ago was this? Because his brother looked like he died like yesterday.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're having this conversation, you know, is like, did Liu Kang find out immediately, like a week afterwards, or so was this tournament like last week?
Yeah.
And like I was kind of lost on the timeline there, and I was just like, so what's going on? And you mean Chan's dead? So are y'all is the monks having a funeral for Chan, and then Liu Kang just shows up because Liu Kang just like rolling in the middle of their prayer session, like rude, like seriously, or just like, or the other thing is just like all right, so if Chan did, man, ain't nobody want to worry about the other 8. Like, it's like, when we send fighters, do we, like, because apparently you guys are the only ones that know that there's this tournament. So do y'all send a fighter every time?
Right. That's a good question. May I say something real quick? Can I do a side chat for a minute?
Yeah, go on.
I appreciate what they were trying to do for this. With that being said, I would love to be in the room when they sat here and were doing all these characters and they thought Christopher Lambert should be Rayden. Like, I really want to know, like I'm not mad at him doing it. I just want to know, like, how did he become a contender as a person to be picked for this? You know, like I think there's other options. Yeah. I just think, like, why him? And, you know, I don't know if Christopher Lambert's a Mortal Kombat person. He says, I want to be in this movie. I don't know. We don't get any stories behind this, but it's just more like he is so out of nowhere person being cast for this movie. It just came out of nowhere for anybody. And I don't know. It's crazy. Because, like, every other cast member, like, okay, I'll accept it. Because, you know, granted, Cameron Diaz did not get to play as Sonya, you know. Yeah. And now I don't know how I'd accept it. Seeing her, like, something about Mary. Maybe I would accept it before. I don't know. But just the fact that, like, out of anybody, Christopher Lambert was the one, like, I do not see you doing this, but I enjoy what you're doing. But you were never going to be my first pick in my head. Like, that's him. That's the guy.
I tend to agree with you there because Christopher Lambert was someone that I was kind of shocked when they decided to choose this role because he's Asian, so they chose a white dude to play an Asian guy, which was one of those things where I was just kind of like, all right, well, you know, it's you know, Hollywood back in the 90s, we have to have somebody who's kind of a big name, right? Just like we have to have Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile.
Which I would accept Jean-Claude Van Damme as Johnny Cage in this movie too, by the way.
Yeah, he has to be. He should have been, right?
Yeah, the best of the best right there. The best of the best. Yeah. They could have played him off from the other movie, Bloodsport. Just just cross him over. Just cross him over. It would be just fine.
Yeah, it's like Johnny Cage. Who's that? I'm Frank Dukes.
Yeah.
Frank Duke can extend his legend of fighting. You mentioned Cameron Diaz. Yes, Cameron Diaz was originally thought of to play Sonya Blade, but she had scheduling conflicts with the Mask. Actually, this was before she actually did the Mask. So this was kind of like when she was wrapping up that movie and doing this one. Mm-hmm. So it would have actually been really interesting to see her do this movie.
Yeah,
because thinking about from the Mask into this point, like her from the Mask movie into just this movie, like it's good that she didn't do this movie. Mm-hmm. But it would have been interesting, I think, to say. Did you hear who was the original Rayden that they wanted?
I did not. Can you tell me?
Oh, yeah. James Bond.
Sean Connery?
Yeah.
Huh.
Sean Connery was the original pick for Rayden in this movie,
Huh.
and ended
Not
up
with that
not doing
accent.
this movie.
Not with that
Yeah, right.
accent.
Lambert's got a little bit of an accent too. I mean, it was interesting because I was like Christopher Lambert or Sean Connery. Like, why?
I guess, it's funny because they were both from Highlander. So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
It's like, yeah, they must have watched Highlander and they were like, oh, did you see all that lightning around those characters? They could be perfect ratings.
that is a damn good theory. That's a damn good theory. Yeah.
Perfect ratings.
Yeah. Or maybe, they actually fought and Lambert won. And he's like, I guess I'm Rayden.
Yeah, because I would say Sean Connery in this role would be weird.
It'd be too. He's
It'd
an
be
actor to me. Like,
weird.
you don't have time for this. You could do so much better other stuff.
And I think he felt that way too, because I think he rejected the role because he didn't want to go into a physical role, and I think the other thing they said was that he liked to golf, so they just kind of let him golf.
Okay.
But actually, this isn't a bad. This is a great role for Lambert in the sense that like you're saying there. Between Lambert, Robin Shou, and then it's Sonya and Johnny Cage, like you can tell the acting chops between the four of them, like whether or not you believe the characters. Like if you had to sit there and think about like just at the very beginning of this movie up until the temple part, like which one of these characters do you believe is actually that character or not a person just playing that character,
Yeah, Johnny Cage is up there. Like the funny part is Johnny Cage to me has the easiest role because he's supposed to be corny. He's supposed to be over the top ridiculous. So like that's the easiest one. Unlike Sonya and Lou, they have to be a little bit more serious and be taken serious, and that's tough for them. So, Johnny got the easy seat.
Yeah. I'm with you too. To me it's kind of believable that like Johnny Cage was a believable character to me. Like the other two I didn't quite buy into them. Like Liu Kang I didn't at all quite buy into him. In fact, like I said, I think this temple scene really made him look stupid just in general. Mm-hmm. Like cuz he challenges Rayden and he's just like, it's like why are you praising this dude? He's not the god of lightning. And then
Rayden? Grandfather, get up! This isn't your god of thunder and lightning. He's just a beggar.
Rayden flips him and has lightning, like, just shining through his eyes. And he's just like, you're still not Rayden. I don't know how you did that with your eyes.
He's some homeless guy. I don't know why you guys keep treating him like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of things that they did with Liu Kang that I'm just kind of like, all right. I didn't think this when I first watched it, but when I watch it again here, I'm just kind of like, he's not the guy that he's not very likable.
So just by the brief of Shang at the beginning, how did you feel about him?
It was Shang Tsung at the very beginning of the movie I think it was a good tease.
Okay.
Like I don't really like seeing him at the very beginning of the movie and assuming you knew nothing about Mortal Kombat. Mm-hmm. I think you kind of want to go. I think a part of you is just kind of like, all right, so this dude just killed a dude, sort of, like, and then he kind of went all old and skeleton-y. Mm-hmm. Like, what's the story behind this? What is this exactly? Yeah. And so for that, to me, was kind of like a nice tease into that, to that aspect. I think it really did kind of, in some senses, like when he went from the master of Johnny Cage's master to himself as he was walking away. Mm-hmm. And then also with the Kano talk where he was talking to Kano about getting Sonya and them on the... Like, I think that took the delusion or took the illusion out a little bit and not quite did what it should have done as far as making him seem like he's the puppet master. Mm-hmm. it felt more forced than it did like he's really kind of sly, you know. So I think the interest at the very beginning, like you said, or like you mentioned, where he killed his brother, I think that was kind of interesting in the sense that I kind of wanted to know a little bit more. But seeing him throughout, like randomly throughout the other stories, I feel that luster kind of dropped down a little bit. How about you?
I like the way he looked. He just has a villain look. So that was the most important thing I was looking at. I was like, do I take you seriously? You know, and you know, right when he looks at the screen, like his soul is mine and all this stuff. Like, yeah, he got the looks. He got the looks. I like that. Yeah. So you know, I was fine with him at the beginning. So yeah. That's all I have to say.
I do. No, I think you're right. I think he was probably out of all these characters, I think his casting was probably the best one. As far as like the look, the feel, and everything else. So after the temple, we go into the boat, basically, right? Everyone's getting into this boat.
Everybody's meeting each other too for the first time.
And everybody's really meeting each other for the first time too. And before we get to the island, so in your opinion, it obviously it's an Enter the Dragon thing where everybody meets each other next to the bag in the water and all that stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Enter the Dragon, guys.
Enter the Dragon right there. Right there.
Yeah, it's right there. Enter the Dragon. Right, it was Enter the Dragon. Right. Yeah. So what did you feel about just this whole thing all the way up until they get to the island?
First off, I have never seen a boat that goes in and reverse back out. That's the first part of it. Definitely see the CG in this. But just overall, the trip there, I mean, I feel like they still didn't give us time with the characters, you know, on this boat. Like, I think, like, okay, look, this is a chance for them to kind of get to know each other. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of an answer, but we still didn't get answers. You notice that none of them have learned anything from each other. Like, Lou does not know anything about Johnny and why he's here. He doesn't know about his brother. No one knows why Sonya's still going after Kano. Like, nobody cared to ask each other, like, why are you here? And obviously they know that they're meant to be here together due to saying Shang, and then Rayden comes in. As Rayden told in the story, like, you three are here for a reason. Basically he's saying, you guys better get used to each other because you guys are in it to represent us. And yet they still didn't get it. And they're like still not even talking away from the mic. Still didn't get it. And walking and still continuing on like they're total strangers. That was such a missed opportunity for me. Because instead, they rather introduce more characters. Which those two characters should have been revealed yet. They should have been revealed at the island. But it felt like they just wanted to hurry up and show everybody for fan service to me. They're like, all right, here's everybody you're going to see. Now it's going to get awesome when we get to the island. You know, kind of feel. Because Scorpion and Sub-Zero, seeing them that early, ruined it a little bit for me. Because it's like, is it your time to come in yet? No, this should have been just Rayden, Shang, other fighters apparently that were also joining this that we don't know.
Yeah, right. You know, other fighters are on this boat.
Yeah, there's other fighters. You know, Johnny talks to one of them. Johnny made a friend somehow with that guy, but we never see that chemistry. Yeah. But you see all these fighters on this boat, but they rather focus on these three to them, and that was a missed opportunity for me. I would have loved to see who these other fighters that were going to be sent to their deaths, just to see what they would have been like. Like, oh, okay, that's a little Easter egg here and here and here. That was the opportunity for Easter eggs. They could have had other fighters from like the game or some, I don't know, some shape or form or whatever that could have been that put in there. There was also a missed opportunity for test your might, like in the game. Like someone with the boat could have done a test your might moment.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. That would have been amazing. But no, it was another missed opportunity because we still didn't learn anything about the characters. They were just really just checking the box and whatnot. So what about you?
So I thought this entire front scene here was absolutely pointless. For me personally, I think this is going to be a common theme between you and I, is that they've missed a lot of opportunities with the villains in this movie. And yeah, they missed a lot of opportunities with the villains. But I don't actually like the fact that these three met each other on a boat or going to the boat. In fact, I think really it should have started on the island, personally, because the explanation on why these three, because that was the other thing too. Well, why these three ended up on the same boat in Hong Kong. Remember, the only people that you and I knew were in Hong Kong were Sonya and Jax. Johnny Cage, what we assume, was in Hollywood somewhere, and Liu Kang was in America but flew over. So what you're telling me is that these guys flew over to Hong Kong just to board a boat. It would have been more interesting to me if they would have they all would have boarded their own boat, like a boat that obviously looks like that, but boarded wherever they were at, closer to them, and given it a chance to meet like other fighters, like you said. Getting a chance to meet other fighters and be in other situations that didn't intertwine them together until you got to the island, where you can start getting them to meet each other, the chemistry, and kind of build more of the island. Because like what you said absolutely is true. I was like, this entire front part to get to the island and start the tournament was really rushed. And I feel with it being rushed, you lose a lot of that story that you want to try to kind of tell about who you want to watch and why you want to care about them, right? Because ultimately, you really want to like care about those characters and be in their journey into a really crappy situation. But we don't really know, per se. I'm not feeling that story, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could have built more of an art and Johnny Cage story, which, you know, so you can be like, all right, cool. So Johnny Cage is upset that, you know, Goro destroys this dude later on, right?
Yeah.
Or you could have did a short like story where like Kano like hurts Jax like in a really bad way, not necessarily kills him, because we obviously know Jax is in Mortal Kombat 2, but I'm just saying like he does something to Jax that makes Sonya so mad that she has this hatred of wanting to get at him, or some sort of story, right?
The motive, basically. What's the motive?
Yeah, what is the motive? What's the story? Why does she really want to get to this guy, right? Because then you could have set up the whole Shang Tsung, you know, talking to Kano. It's like, make sure she gets on the boat, you know? It's like they could have did a story to set that up. Then you could have built Liu Kang a little bit more and had more time to kind of marinate with Liu Kang, right?
Yeah, because now that while we were talking about this, I forgot that Liu Kang's story arc is exactly like Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon. I mean, some sibling died, and he's going there to investigate what's going on, per se. Except here, he knows it's Shang Tsung, but it's still. It's still like play by play of that, and it's just like been there, done that feel. Like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
What else?
Somewhat, yeah, somewhat. I mean, I think Enter the Dragon did it way better though, because
they had more time, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least they spent more time on it. Yeah. Like you can marinate on that. You can feel the pain that Liu Kang, or you can feel the pain that Bruce Lee was going through in that moment. Whereas Liu Kang, you just have to assume that losing a brother or sister, you know, obvious, sad. You don't, unless you personally have lost a family member or something like that. I don't know you really know that feeling, you know? And of course, assuming that this is the person that killed them, we don't know if that's true or not. Because, I mean, at least with Enter the Dragon, he was trying to investigate on what's going on, right?
Yeah.
In this one, he just knows somehow.
Mm-hmm.
He knows his brother entered the tournament and died. Which I mean, his brother entered the tournament and died because he chose to enter the tournament and die. There's no whims about it,
Mm-hmm.
Even the fact that Shang Tsung killed him, you want revenge because he killed your brother, but you knew his brother. But I mean, ultimately, as a regular person outside looking in, you're like, all right, my brother put his life on the line. It's like people who go into the army and go into war and stuff like that. You want revenge on the people responsible, but you understand the fact that they volunteer their life for that style of life, like police officers, etc., etc.
Let me ask you this: would it been better also instead of the boat, they just get zapped there? Because Dimension's been used in this before.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some way these characters got lured into a trap, did they get teleported there?
It would have been interesting if they got into the trap or they got tricked into getting into a boat that actually took them to a different dimension,
Okay.
or a different realm. But I agree with you. I think it would be interesting. Like I feel like this movie really kind of started once it hit the island, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, they tried to build everything. I guess the setup is that they wanted you to know the story sort of them before they get into the island,
Mm-hmm.
and how those guys act with each other once they get to the island next, so that you can kind of build on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they wanted to have the meet and then build on it later on, which I think they could have. Honestly, I think they could have just met on the island, and then just
open up the scene. They're on the island, just start the movie, and just let it go from there.
And just go from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's where I think was kind of a big miss. It's like a part of me was like they wanted to show off this Mortal Kombat boat that has the head that's the symbol of Mortal Kombat, so that we can make this look so cool and whatnot. But I think that whole boat setup was kind of like, I could have did without it.
Yeah. I agree. I think through this whole movie we're going to start getting more deeper into this, because now I feel like we're really getting started on the conversation.
Yeah. Sorry.
I basically wanted to say that I am kind of disappointed that all the characters did not get used to their full extent, and they could have, if the director or the writer understand the characters a little bit more, there could have been a little fun twist to it all, especially like Shang Tsung, the guy that can shapeshift to anything. That could have been an awesome idea to fool Liu Kang as him being somebody that he's not. Like, how awesome would it be if you didn't know what Shang Tsung really looked like yet?
Yeah, exactly.
He lied about like what he did. Like you could say like he was at the beginning of that cuts at the beginning killing his brother, as somebody else. And then when you get to the tournament, you actually see what Shang Tsung looks like, but they don't know what he looks like.
Yeah.
And that would have been awesome. I know it's kind of like I know we're going back to Enter Dragon, but imagine if the guy running the island was the one behind it all, but you didn't know because he shapeshifted everything.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah,
but
it would have been neat.
But I think for overall in this story, the more I watch it, the more like so many characters did not get their full potential because it felt like they just needed to rush and they felt like they needed to fill in the blocks A, B, and C. That's all I wanted to say. Go on.
Oh, yeah, no. And I was just going to say one thing, and we'll talk about the island. The only other thing is I agree with you 110%. It was a waste. There's a lot of wasted intros here for characters. Sub-Zero and Scorpion was a wasted intro. Like, if you're going to introduce these two characters who we all love, like everyone loves Scorpion and everyone loves everyone loves Scorpion apparently.
Yep.
But if you're going to introduce
they're the top two.
Yeah, the top two. If you're going to introduce the Ryu and Ken of Mortal Kombat, you have them coming out of a door and posing. Like you couldn't even play the Mortal Kombat song.
Right.
something to pump you up, right? Like the introduction of those two characters were so they were not. It wasn't memorable, right?
So weak.
At
It
all.
was so weak.
It was so weak, and kind of like I said before, it's like a theme. Every cool character, we're going to talk about their intro, and it's going to suck because Rayden, his intro to this movie was walking like a homeless dude through a crowd.
Right.
Like you mean the Lord and God of thunder and lightning, and he's gonna walk through a crowd like Jeremy yelling at people telling them that they don't like music.
Hashtag he's never gonna let that go. He could have. I don't know why that idea had to be in there. Like, no one has seen Rayden through before this being a homeless person. So why do we need to know he was a homeless person? Just come down like a thundering strike and just appear. You know, like you don't need the homeless part. It's like there's no story. It's not like Liu Kang walked up to the temple and he saw him being a homeless person. Like, hey, get out of here. Like nothing set that up for Rayden to be a homeless person to be mentioned. So why put it?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that if you were to eliminate that entire scene and just have Rayden come through the stairs as a lightning bolt and then shoot Sub-Zero and Scorpion out the door, that's a better intro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then oh, sorry. It just reminded me. So we'll move to the island after this, I swear. And then Liu Kang's just like, it's Rayden. The Lord of Thunder and Lightning. You should know.
Who is this guy?
Let's just think this through. There is a rational explanation for this.
He's Rayden, god of lightning and protector of the realm of Earth.
You mean you talking about the guy that didn't believe in him at all? Like this, like him coming in as a big lightning bolt that made you this like happy-go-lucky believer now you went from like, who is this guy? That's my boy, man. We met like over there at the temple. You should know. Dumb white people.
Oh, Lou.
Like that made Lou look so stupid. I was just like, I mean, you know what I mean? He got so happy. He's just like, yeah, that's Lord Rayden. Everyone knows who Lord Rayden is.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I let it be in that case. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Rayden was on the sideline through the whole movie anyways. So that guy didn't get to electrocute anybody. Ain't that a bitch?
There's a lot of things that didn't happen that we're gonna wish on.
He didn't electrocute anybody, Nom. Nobody. He just made threats. That's all he did. He made threats.
Yeah, and Scorpion didn't pull anybody towards him either.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Are
we ready? Are we ready to hit the island?
All right. So we're on the island now, and this is the whole setup. This is the entire thing. This is the whole shebang, guys. The whole shebang, guys. The island where we set up the tournament. We go into Shang-Tsung. We meet Goro, and we do the entire fighting in the tournament. Man, when you were watching this, man, what were you thinking?
It's not a tournament.
Right?
It didn't feel like a tournament. It didn't feel like a tournament. It just felt like unfortunate events.
So people who are watching Mortal Kombat, like what were you doing? Were you trying to mix this up, kind of like Bloodsport? Like, I mean, even at the very least, you should have had the little flippy name board.
Yeah.
To tell us who was fighting who. But I mean, if you want to know what a tournament is and you want to make a quick tournament, go to Karate Kid. Just watch the Karate Kid. That's how you run the tournament. What the hell is this?
I don't know, man. After they did another Enter the Dragon moment with the whole dinner thing before they did the fighting, at first it got me. It's like, oh yeah, okay, they're gonna fight the tournament, and it was Liu Kang versus another guy, and they fought with sticks. Don't know how the rules worked in that. They didn't really explain the rules. It's just like, here, fight whatever you can bring in the ring. Then it was Sonya's turn to get Kano's fight out of the way. It was like, that's a little early to get this fight out of the way, but whatever.
Thank you.
But I think where it fell off was like So these two are fighting in the sand, and somehow you never. Where did they leave Johnny? Because I feel like Johnny should have been there with Liu Kang and Sonya while they were sitting there watching each other's fights. But somehow, I don't know. He got lost somehow in this forest, and then that was a fight. And I'm like, you didn't even explain how Johnny got here. Like, how did Johnny get caught in this forest? They all look alike. All the trees look alike. Fighting Scorpion, and that didn't make any sense to me. It felt like that.
They all got teleported, right?
They never showed Johnny being teleported. I never saw him get teleported.
Okay.
I just remembered that like the next day they just started the tournament.
Oh.
And then, they saw the fight, and then Kano came out and did his thing, and then Johnny was in the forest. And then after that, then the fight went back to normal again of fighting Kitana. And it's like, so Johnny's trapping whatever the hell he is while everybody's in the sand, and no one cared to ask, where the hell is Johnny? Like, you guys just hung out, chasing after Shang, finding out what he's up to, got introduced to Goro and the return of Kano. Then you almost got in a fight with a group of people before Rayden stepped in. Then you don't know where Johnny went the next day. That doesn't make sense to me. But Johnny had the best fight, but it didn't make sense to me.
It was.
Johnny had the best fights. Him against Goro, Scorpion. He had the best fights, and yet no one cared where Johnny went.
Yeah, no one cared where Johnny went. No one cared about anyone else. And the fact that we knew nobody else in this movie, like nobody else, like the other fighters or anything like that in this movie at all. Mm-hmm. Like, Jeremy, besides looking at the screen behind me here,
I've been looking at that the whole time. Go on.
It's cool. What's Mortal Kombat about? It's fighting, right? It's a fighting game. Right?
It's about a movie that shouldn't have been PG-13.
Oh yeah. I agree. The PG-13 aspect of this movie really hurt.
Oh my gosh! Like, it's supposed to be about revenge. That's basically what the story is. It's supposed to be a revenge story, and it just happens to be on a tournament. But the problem is, it's like even on the island, it's just like, what is everybody's goal again? Kind of question.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the moment, like, they went to go investigate Shang was like, okay, are we fighting in a tournament or not? What is going on? Like, they couldn't decide what they wanted to do from there. And that kind of got annoying. It was more of just like, it almost felt like, okay, who would be cool to fight each other? All right, we'll do Johnny versus Scorpion. All right, and then Liu Kang should fight Sub-Zero. Then Sonya will just have one fight only, just to get her revenge from Kano. And then, like, it did, like you said, like, Karate Kid kind of laid you out the platform of, like, this is how you can do it. And here's some other fighters that you can have working their way up as we can see these people go. And it just felt like that they threw the rules out they threw all these ideas out the door the moment Johnny fought Scorpion.
Yeah, and the thing is that you could have literally taken Bloodsport and made it pretty much like a Bloodsport where you just like, you get a little flippy thing that says Sub-Zero versus, Steve Johnson or whatever. The fact that Bloodsport gave us more other people fighting, Karate Kid gave us more of other people fighting, for you to see how cool the villains are. The fact that it was like a fart in the church with the Sub-Zero and his fight.
Yeah.
His first fight with the random dude that did the nunchucks and whatever, the punches. Like, he you see this cool ability, but then that's it. Like, it takes 2 seconds and they were done, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
they were done. His intro was done. This game is a fighting game. You go into this movie expecting a movie about fighting, just a lot of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you don't show your villains basically just destroy everybody. In fact, you don't even get to see Goro destroy anybody.
No. No,
You get to see Goro destroy art. Just one person.
Goro had that Teenage Ninja Turtle movie kind of character role, you know?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. The reason, before I ask you this, I want to say, you know why Johnny and Scorpion's fight was the best one? Because that's how all fighting tournaments should be. When two people compete, then they should be teleported to a different place to fight it out. Whoever wins gets teleported back to the real world. Just like the video game kind of shows, right? The video game shows that you pick two characters, they get warped into this world, they fight it out, and they leave. What about the one that I see in the background? How come no one's fighting on this scary little bridge with spikes down in the middle? Like, how come we're not seeing those sets? The island should have had different sets of where these fighters go for each one. We're supposed to see death. People are supposed to be dying. But because of the PG-13, it felt like they had to limit that for some reason. And it hurts so bad. Because after seeing Johnny's fight, I was like, I want more of this. Like, bring the shield, cutting Scorpion's head and chest open, blood spewing everywhere. He's on fire. I'm like, why is this fight better than the other two? Like, and then nothing beats after that. Like, it felt like that's where all the money went. Right there, Nom. And I feel like Sonya and Liu Kang deserve better than that, to me. They deserve a better fight in that. And not the one with Reptile. But there's a lot of opportunities here, and it just felt like it was playing way too safe, and it just kind of ran out of ideas halfway in this movie. So
yeah, so with the PG rating, the PG-13 rating, it definitely ruined this movie, because I think something that you and I talked about before is that sometimes when a movie is PG-13, it gives you an opportunity to be more creative about how you do certain things. And I think the creativity wasn't there for this movie. Because I still think you could do a PG-13 if you really, really, really wanted to. But the creativity that you guys did for this movie in particular, it just wasn't there. Like, I don't necessarily have to see blood and guts and like a spinal cord hanging out of somebody's head or anything like that.
I do.
But at the very least, you could still show fighting and action. I mean, enough to where you can sit there and be like, all right, cool. These guys are in peril. These guys are going to have to fight their way into an actual championship versus just kind of touching their way into a championship. It's really what it is. So on the island, we got introductions to Kitana, Reptile, Goro, and we already had an intro to Kano.
Which, by the way, so mad that his laser eye was malfunctioning that day.
Yeah, no kidding.
I really wish it worked that day, but go on.
So superbly lackluster intros to all those characters. You spend $1 million to do a Goro puppet, like a Goro costume, or the puppeteer costume. $1 million to make that costume, which I liked, actually. I actually liked the Goro costume and the outfit. 2021, when we're looking back on it, you're thinking to yourself, it looks silly, but let me tell you what. You know what looks sillier? The Scorpion King. The Scorpion King in The Mummy 2. You go back and you watch that and you're thinking, all right, I'll take this $1 million puppet instead.
Yeah.
He gets introduced by eating dinner with the Kano.
Sadly enough, it's the better one.
Yeah. And the next Kitana's introduction was she's sitting there with an umbrella just like chilling.
Like, what were you doing before? Like,
that's what I mean. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, she's just sitting there, and then she sees Liu Kang. She starts staring at him. And I was like, yeah. The moment, you know what I was thinking?
Hungry eyes. I feel the magic between you and I. Ooh, I'm hungry for you, baby. Come on, walk with me, talk with me.
I feel like Johnny should have said that to him.
He should have. Like, if Johnny was the comic relief, that would have been the perfect thing. In fact, I think that, the there should be a scene where you and I are just like in the background, just going, "Hungry eyes."
Yeah.
And then Reptile was what we thought was a statue, but was really just sitting there playing the statue game with Kitana, and he tells you mean. Granted, yeah, Kitana probably already knew this, but he tells Reptile in front of Kitana to watch Kitana, as if like it's his spy or something like that. It's just like, I need you.
Oh, just like Enter the Dragon, like they had a girl up there that was supposed to look out for him, for Bruce Lee. They're partnering up.
Exactly. And so like completely lackluster intros, like absolutely lackluster intros. Like Goro is intimidating because he's got 4 arms and he's big, but what else?
He didn't need to be in this movie. It was not time for him to be in this movie.
I think he could have been in this movie.
I think he could have been saved for a sequel if that one was more successful.
Well, you know what? That's fair. Like if you want to go ahead and make Sub-Zero and Scorpion like the main two.
Yep.
I
feel like that they got kicked out because they spent over $1 million for this puppet thing. Like, we better use it.
Yeah, I like the practical effects. I actually like the puppet.
It was fun.
I liked it better than CG. Like being
that was
overly
fun.
CG.
Little claymation.
But I agree with you. It's just like yeah. So Goro could have been weighted on this one. In fact, he was kind of lackluster throughout this entire movie. Like he kills Art. So yeah. Like so we know Art's a really good martial artist because Johnny Cage said so.
What Johnny says is true. Okay.
Yeah, everything that Johnny says is gold, so you have to believe it. You have to believe in that. I mean, like this is what's so disappointing about it. It's like when you watch Karate Kid and when you watch like and you watch the what was it Bloodsport, right? Mm-hmm. You see like this montage of fighters and you don't even see them for like 5 minutes. It's just a montage, but you're like, he's good. Mm-hmm. He got his butt kicked by Johnny but you knew he was a good fighter. Then in Bloodsport, you were just like, the monkey dude is really good, but man, he got bear hugged by that dude and it was over.
Yeah, like the whole like day 1, day 2 kind of feel, right?
Yeah, the TIE fighter or something. Mm. Something to make me sit there and think, all right, so we know he's going to get killed, but at least give us a chance, give us the ability to think that he has a chance, which he didn't.
Now, if I'm correct, maybe I misheard this, but didn't Kung Lao get mentioned in this movie but never showed up?
No, Kung Lao was mentioned in this movie. What Liu Kang says is, I am the descendant of Kung Lao.
No, you'll fight me. I am Liu Kang, descendant of Kung Lao. I challenge you to Mortal Kombat.
Wow.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I am the descendant of Kung Lao, which he shows up in the next movie.
To bring him in this movie.
Yeah. Which they ain't even talk about Kung Lao, why that is important for anyone. Mm-hmm. Why is that important that he's the descendant of Kung Lao? Makes no difference. Mm-hmm. Like if his brother, I mean, it could have like I don't even know.
You're okay. Yeah, no.
I don't even know. Like they could have had Kung Lao get killed by Shang Tsung. And some sort of description of a previous like iteration of the tournament, so we know what the tournament is.
Right.
But we don't know too. So I mean, lackluster intros for those characters, and then I wanted to touch on this because I know you touched on it. Sonya and Kano, that fight. What was that? Like early is not even like it. Not even is not an understatement. That like I don't know how to explain. I think early doesn't like completely grasp how stupid it was to make it so to just kind of happen, right?
Yeah, but you know why? Because they wanted to build this whole. It's almost. I'll be honest with you. Sonya got the worst end of this movie, right? First of all, she's not likable because through this whole movie, she was just a total bitch, right? Just through the whole movie. Like, they were forcing you not to like her. And when you saw her and Kano fight, you really kind of didn't care. But at the same time, it felt like they just wanted her to even get that out of the way because they needed to focus on Liu Kang and Shang's story. And so I feel like that idea could have been carried over there. So Sonya has a reason to be in the outworld other than I'm supposed to be a princess to Shang or some love interest forced to do that. It was another missed opportunity for something like that. But you're right. It was too early for it. And it was like, and plus, like, that fight was not even that interesting.
That fight was horrible.
It wasn't interesting at all. I mean, even Kano, I felt he was out of his realm as a character. I'm like, I don't know if Kano would be like this. I feel like Kano would be that kind of person that'd be like the quiet type. That like, he talks with action more than his mouth to me. But then again, I could be wrong. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's the two characters that I'm kind of shocked about that they always do, and it's not just like the movies, it's just kind of like perception, right? Mm-hmm. But Kano and Johnny Cage being kind of like the comic relief characters in the movies. Like the only time I actually saw Kano be someone kind of evil and serious was in Legacy, like the YouTube Mortal Kombat series.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only time I actually saw this. Like, I never envisioned in my entire life Johnny Cage and Kano being such, like, comic relief goofballs. Because I had always believed that Johnny Cage was, like, Frank Duke's Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? Mm-hmm. In Kano, I always envisioned as this, like, kind of, like, gang leader, serial killer, murderer kind of guy. So I always wondered why the translation was, and it's not here because eventually later on, that's just been the common translation, right? Mm-hmm. Is that Johnny Cage is kind of like that goofball, which I think I get where you come from because I can kind of see it because you're an arrogant, pompous butt, so you can get that. You can you come off corny and kind of funny in a way, but Kano I don't quite get. Yeah. The thing I did like about Kano in this movie is that he said that line where he's like, "This is the same knife I use on your partner."
Yeah.
From ear to ear.
Nah, it put a big smile on your partner though. Ear to ear.
The thing is that it means. That's such a throwaway force line. Like, why didn't we get a chance to see him use it on people and actually see him?
PG-13. I don't know, Knob.
Yeah, it is PG-13, but I mean, you don't actually. You
don't have to. I know they could do the cutaway scream or something.
I was gonna say, The Dark Knight was PG-13, so I mean, the Joker did a lot of things that you're like, okay.
Yeah,
you leave it up for their imagination, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like build some people that we want to sit there and go to ourselves like, okay, these guys are menacing. Kano, you could have held the whole story at the very beginning, Kano doing something bad to Jax and murdering like 3 innocent people in the midst of this, and giving us reason why Sonya is like wanting to get to this dude and fighting. And then so we could have seen Kano fight like a bunch of nobodies, which we saw do flips. They know how to do flips and land on their backs.
Everybody knows how to do flips.
Because Goro beat people down, we assume, because people fell down and just landed on their backs.
I know that, man. That went too long. We get it. Okay.
The $1 million puppet that you guys could have used to beat down people, y'all just filmed the fact that these guys are flipping on their back.
And let me tell you something, Nom. This soundtrack for this movie is awesome. So there was a lot of opportunity to use this soundtrack for some montages.
Oh, yes.
And then people just fall. Ooh, this is all. Oh, there's so many opportunities with this music. But they didn't. And it's sad.
You know, is that so? No, I agree with you. Like, absolutely too early. The fact that they brought in Kano and they just killed him off in like 2 seconds, like literally 2 seconds, was absolutely pitiful.
But it's not as worse as what Sub-Zero got. Sub-Zero got it the worst. The guy that you were hoping that the fight would last as long as Scorpion's fight with Johnny, but it did not. And there you can tell the budget was tight because real talk, I don't care what you are. I don't believe it takes you about 5 minutes to shoot a move. I don't care what anybody says. And the fact he had enough time with Kitana to help, like, remember what I told you. And it's like, oh, I'll throw water at him. And it's like, I don't think that's how the power works. I don't think a giant shield orb comes around in the form of this move that you throw anything in there, it freezes. But okay, whatever. that whole thing didn't make sense to me.
So I'm going to prove you wrong. Yes, it does take 5 minutes. In fact, it takes about 20 episodes before something happens.
Anyway, back to... What are you doing?
Have to use a spirit bomb. It's my only chance.
Seriously, what is this all about? Are you trying to tell me you once caught a fish that big?
I'm just stretching.
In the middle of a fight.
And for all those who are listening who don't understand, I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z.
What's going on? He's just standing there with his hands up.
Wait a second. He's using the spirit bomb!
The spirit what's it now?
Because Sub-Zero did this. He did his version of the spirit bomb. in that whole 5 minutes of trying to create an ice ball to try to attack
Liu.
You know, Liu Kang and yeah, absolutely right. The fact that Sub-Zero got, I mean, like, Scorpion went down like a G. Well, as much of a G as you can.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero went down like a bitch.
He did. It was. I know Scorpion is a lot of people's favorite, but it's like Sub-Zero needs some love too. Like,
yeah.
Like, if he's gonna die, at least let him feel like he had a fighting chance. Like,
yeah.
That was so disappointing. It was so disappointing. But I will say this. I didn't know. I thought the new Mortal Kombat movie, which we'll be discussing soon, not in this episode, but I didn't know that this movie Sub-Zero did the gun thing too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so it's not original. I forgot he did this in this one. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, okay. So that's like a shout out to the, I was like, yeah! Oh, that's crazy. I didn't notice that.
It's just that it's so forgettable in this movie.
Yeah.
Because that was a throwaway intro in this movie, so you didn't notice, right? Like, you'll remember when Kylo Ren stopped that laser bullet when it got shot at.
Yeah.
In the Force Awakens, like, you remember that whenever they shot at Kylo Ren, Kylo Ren, he was like, boom.
Yeah.
But the fact that Sub-Zero froze the gun, you remember more of the 2021 trailer than you'll ever remember this one.
Right. What did you think, though? Even though Scorpion had the fight, did you like the idea of his move coming out of his hand to be this lock-on living being?
So, two things on that one. A, does his spinal cord, is his spinal cord or is his intestines, is that the chain, or is it just like completely wrapped around his stomach while he does the hand thing?
It's supposed to be more like a harpoon kind of thing, right? It's supposed to like kind of shoot out something. It's not anything organized. Now, are you talking about in the movie?
That because the chain that comes out of his hand, or, you know, it's a living
that is
being,
true. No,
right?
no. I get what you got. I thought you were asking a normal Scorpion. No. In this movie,
like in the 2021 version, which we'll talk about and compare everything to, you know, it's an actual, like, you know, like chain, like something connected to a chain or something that we actually fight with, right? A rope. But in this one, it's almost like a living being coming out of his body. So is it like partly his intestines that don't exist anymore, and this goes?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's a parasite or, you know.
So Scorpion, you need to get that shit checked, man. You got worms.
I got worms.
Worms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I did. All right, so I did actually like the fact that they did something different and they tried something different with it being a living being coming out of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't like is they did absolutely nothing with it.
He died. That was weird.
Yeah,
his thing died,
absolutely,
and I was like, okay,
absolutely nothing with it. And nothing is, and the thing is that this is the biggest surprise of them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's even bigger than knowing that Luigi's name is Luigi Mario, and Mario's name is Mario. The fact that Scorpion talks exactly like he sounds with everything he says, it's amazing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he stuck with the gaming lines. He didn't have any other dialogue.
No, he had plenty of dialogue. Get down here.
Yeah. Get down here. Come here. Welcome.
Yeah. You know, my theory a long time
That's
ago.
my purse.
My theory a long time ago, when I looked it up and it's not true. I thought it was one actor playing all three roles, that is Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, but they're like three different actors. And I'm like, I think they could have saved money if they just got one person to do it all.
Exactly. Like, I saw that on the IMDb and I was like, there's three actors playing these guys? Wow. So, why? You know?
Right.
It's like the fact that we all joked about the fact, we all knew when it came to Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 and stuff like that, that you couldn't really tell the difference between Scorpion and Sub-Zero except for one's blue, one's orange.
Yeah, it's just a damn shame that Reptile had probably the best fight out of all three of them, per se.
Yeah, Reptile did have the best fight. Alright, so Reptile had the best fight because it was fast.
It was, yeah.
It was a change of pace, and that I'll say is absolutely refreshing. Like the Scorpion Johnny Cage fight and the Reptile Liu Kang fight were two fights that changed the pace of the movie. Like, for a short period of time, they changed the pace of the movie, but they changed it enough to where you were like, all right, I like this. And to a certain extent, the Liu Kang Shang Tsung fight sped it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it felt like, all right, so now we're doing. It's like everybody else's fight was like, all right, these are guys that are just training, and when we got to these guys, we're like, these guys actually know how to fight. So it's like watching a Donnie Yen fight, where you're like, oh yeah, Donnie Yen knows how to fight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like the change of pace was really nice. That was one of the disappointing things too. Is just like watching some of the other fights, it looked more like a dance than it did a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like the Johnny Cage Scorpion fights, the Liu Kang Reptile fight, and the Liu Kang.
Yeah, less cuts compared to the other ones, right? There was a lot of cuts on the beginning fights, and then later on they kind of panned the camera back a little bit and like, all right, because I believe they said they had to go back and do additional fighting scenes.
Yeah.
So
they did the additional ones because when they test screened if this is where you were going with it, they had a test screen. They did a test screening, and the test screening said that they didn't like it, or they needed more video game homages. And that's what I was going to ask you. Like, did you feel that they did enough, or they didn't do enough as far as what they should have brought out from the video game into this, as far as everything they did?
They didn't do enough. They really didn't. It didn't feel like they used the foundation that is Mortal Kombat. And to me, the foundation is interesting characters with unique abilities that they should present in the movie, weird stage sets, and then the twist. Like, I feel like this movie should have had a twist. It should have been a surprise. This is just more than a tournament. Something else is on the line, or something that you didn't see coming, of like, why is Shang Tsung this most important person? But I think I would have been satisfied at least if the stage setting were a little bit unique. And I was hoping that with after Johnny and Scorpion's fight that we were going to get more unique stuff, because no one else has been taken to another portal other than Johnny. And Johnny never cared to mention that. Like, dude, I got sent to hell. You know? And as another thing too, he won, and we never saw Johnny just go back to the world. Like, Johnny, how do you go back? Like, how'd you get back? What? You know, like, I don't know, man. But those are the three things I think that would have made the foundation for this movie. What about you?
Yeah. So I think there was a lot of lackluster parts where you can tell that they added in moves from the characters to make the movie work. The one in particular that I think is the Sonya one, where Sonya does the leg grab, the headstand leg grab. Like, they literally added that one into that movie because you can kind of tell based on the movie cuts on how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen more, and myself included, would have liked to have seen more genuine truth to the movie. Like, I didn't mind the scorpion hand thing, like you mentioned, like we talked about before, but at least catch somebody and then pull them, right? And that's where, like I said, you could have did a relative nobody as far as like the other fighters. Instead of having them flip on their back, you could have used them to show off like Scorpion's abilities.
Yeah,
you showed off Sub-Zero's abilities where he threw that little snowball and like killed the dude.
Yeah, and I know that, like, I think one of the mistakes they did with that was the fact that his snowball can freeze somebody completely. And I know the game does that, but in the movie world it wouldn't work because then Liu Kang can't die. So how are you going to do that? If they made it where he can freeze different parts of a body, then that would be a little bit easier for them to play with it. It'd be cool if Scorpion was fighting Liu Kang and, freeze his leg or something like that, so he's stuck. Yeah. Something else to make Scorpion kind of stand out. They could have broke that kind of rule. Or even from Liu Kang. I mean, yes, you saw the bicycle kick, but don't forget, he has a straight flying high kick. He can shoot the fireball. Like,
they did the fireball sort of. Like, they did it kind of like they would in Street Fighter, which was stupid.
I mean, I think Goro, couldn't he show through a blast? I believe Goro could throw a blast, but he was already monstrous enough, so it didn't really matter.
I think Goro's special thing was that he went from like,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Teleported.
Sonya's, though, I don't know how that would work, because she shoots a ring ray out of her arm.
Yeah, that's right. She did.
I don't know how that would work particularly, but Kano's laser would have been awesome to see.
Yeah, Kano's laser would have been interesting. But he didn't really shoot the laser in the first game, though, right?
He does for a second. Yeah, in the first game, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it as a fatality?
No. He can shoot it. It goes down and it goes upwards, I believe.
Does it? For some reason, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you ever watch this video, I believe Kano does it in one of your backgrounds.
That's fine.
It's also the same thing with Johnny. He did his shadow kick one time.
And the shadow kick was actually kind of like it was because he was teleporting dimensions, really.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really a true shadow kick, which I'm okay with because I like the fact that they attempted it, right? Where he did this kick, and it's like because he was getting sucked into a black hole, you saw like shades of him beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. I'm fine with that. Like, I can give you that. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, he should kick so fast that he has this like shadow that like falls behind him. Like, at least you tried that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the one that you really wanted to see someone do the most was Rayden. Like, I want to at least see one thing Rayden does that was cool. Just one thing, and we never got that. No electrocution, no, flying across the room. He did the teleport. You got your teleport. But you never, you never got that. Also, too, I think you're right. Kano didn't do that. He had a kind of a boomerang, knife to throw.
He did the knife throw.
Yeah, which I think they could have done something cool with that. I know he had a knife when he was walking around, but that could have glowed or something like that. Yeah. Because that could have been something implemented why his face is like that. That gives him the power to do stuff like that. Kind of X-Men like. But no, dude, Rayden was I was so disappointed we never got to see him like electrocute somebody.
Yeah, Rayden's electrocution ordeal, like Sub-Zero, like even if you don't freeze the characters. If you wanted to make it a practical thing, like he shoots ice out of his hand. Like if I get hit by a ball of hail or ice, it's gonna hurt. So he could do that where he's just basically creating like hail and just throwing it at somebody and hitting them. And that crap will hurt, and that crap will slow you down. The next, if he does a fatality, you can actually show him like, making this frost and just like covering a dude entirely of ice and then killing him off.
Yeah, and I think also too, Shang did not use his ability at his full extent. I was really expecting him to change a lot in the movie. Like this guy
didn't use his ability at all, right?
He only used it to lure the people in. But after that, and the turn to Liu Kang's brother at the end, right, to fool him, even though he literally saw him teleported into him right in front of him. So like, you're seeing this, right? You can't believe it, right? But it's like he could have used that to fool the audience of he can be anybody. He could have been Johnny Cage while they were walking around, and maybe that's why Johnny was in the forest. There's so many opportunities. He could turn into Goro. That would have been interesting to see what he did with that. There were so many opportunities to throw us all in the loop. Like, oh crap, who is he? Maybe he was Kitana, giving him this advice or something, like lying to him or something like that. I don't know, Nom. That would have been so many great opportunities for him to really play jokes on the audience, and I would have loved it.
I think it would have been interesting if they would have played more into his ability to shapeshift and change. Of course, that's just more money naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, we're getting into Outer World here too, as well as our conversation. But on the island, Kitana, I think Kitana should have just stayed in the Outworld and not have been really a part of this conversation in the island, because Rayden is supposed to be this dude that helped guide these guys, and I don't know how much did he really kind of help guide these guys,
No.
It
was one of those. You guys got to learn. You got to learn.
Yeah, Kitana was the one that basically showed Liu Kang how to kill Sub-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rayden's character in the first part of the movie, I liked him as a character, but I mean, he wasn't as important as he probably should have been. Like in this realm. And next in the out realm, I think Kitana should have been the star as a person that took over his role, right?
Yeah.
And even her not really taking over his role made any type of sense.
Yeah. Also, too, there was some questioning moments of it's one of those like I get it, but it still didn't make sense to me in that sort of way. For instance, like the Liu Kang and Reptile fight, right? I get that fight. That fight was awesome. I don't get where Johnny was doing at Did you want to like help him out? What were you doing at that time? Like you weren't busy with anybody.
I'll tell you exactly what Johnny was doing. Johnny was like sitting there off the side, continually signing his autographs, because apparently he keeps a ton of those on him somehow. That's how he just drops it off.
That's true. Like in the Scorpion fight, that was funny.
Yeah, in the Scorpion fight, he just drops it off. I'm just like, so do you just keep a bunch of those, or do you actually sign? The other thing too is while he was sitting there signing that sign, he was sitting there looking. It's like, hey, you know how it feels to fight a random like ninja dude, right?
Yeah.
It's like, where were you at when I was in hell?
Yeah.
And that fight happened so fast, though. That fight was so fast, it was kind of hard for Johnny Cage to really jump in, right?
Yeah, and may I say also, I get it, but I still don't understand it. I don't understand why Shang had to keep saying finish him.
Right, finish him. Finish him. Finish him.
Shit. You better finish him when I'm done. When I get back, all this I'm like I'm sorry to disappoint you, Shang, but no one's really doing anything for you, man. Like Johnny had it, but you weren't there.
Exactly. Highlander did a better job of like putting a soul into somebody else's body than Mortal Kombat did.
Yeah.
Like Shang Tsung, I was kind of disappointed in the way Shang Tsung took like people's souls and just kind of like absorbed them in his eye. Like I was just kind of like, all right, whatever. Yeah, I was kind of like, whatever. So, a part of me in the whole Outworld ordeal is I was kind of disappointed that Shang Tsung didn't actually transform to himself in the game. Actually, look like the old dude in the game, the dude that we seen in Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
I actually kind of wanted to see that.
I think that's what you want, but I think the movie was telling you that's what he really looked like in the movie.
Yeah.
So
he
it was
just made himself look younger, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's better off like at the beginning of the movie where he should have that should have been his disguise right there, right? And then we see the old man behind him, like, you didn't know I was this old, did you? You know, that would have been interesting. Yeah.
Or the fact that they disguised him as an old guy the entire time so that Liu Kang didn't think that this dude could have been the guy that killed his brother, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then when he fought him, like he changes to the younger guy.
Yeah. Or even better, how awesome would it be if Christopher Lambert's Rayden played both sides? Like every time we see Rayden, we don't know if it was the same Shang we were talking to or the actual Rayden. We don't know, you know.
Yeah. So stay tuned to Mortal Kombat, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. What a twist!
I think the final fight though in the Outworld was a disappointment. They made it too obvious at the end of like, here's a scene with the spikes on the bottom. Like, look, someone's gonna die here. I just want you to know that we're gonna keep this fixed scene here for you. And that kind of annoyed me because I was like, okay, all right. Also, too, kudos to Johnny and Kitana for respecting Liu Kang to do this on his own. Thanks, good job, guys. But yeah, they really made that very clear of like, someone's gonna die here. You know who's gonna die, but we're gonna hype it up for you. We're gonna hype it up for you. It's Saint Shang. But yeah, get hype. I didn't like that final fight. That final fight was so lackluster.
So I like the final fight. I hate the fact that they slowed it down. That's the part whenever I started disliking it. I like the fight as far as them just fighting.
I didn't like with the multiple people fighting. That made no sense to me either.
What do you mean?
You know, when he stopped and all these imaginary spirit guys came and fought out that were like frozen or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
the ones that came in from inside of us, Shang Tsung.
Yeah, I didn't like that, but go on.
All right, so I didn't like that either, but here is an idea that might have worked. So Kitana, I lost the ordeal where Kitana told him 3 things that he has to overcome in order to be Shang Tsung.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I was just kind of dozing off during that time, but that part felt forced. And like I've always had this imagination that if you were to go into like a Jedi temple or whatnot, and you see the things that you had to overcome, like whatever, like they're real, you had to overcome them. Like I feel that this could have been an opportunity to do something like that before he fought Shang Tsung.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with the Shang Tsung thing, where the spirits and people coming up from the ground and then fighting Liu Kang. So I don't like the fact that they were just random people. I thought it would have been interesting if it would have been like people who we just kind of knew, like people he killed before that we knew, that we had invested in some way, shape, or form. Like it would have been interesting if Art came back, who Goro killed.
Yeah.
Came back, then she would have been able to see Johnny Cage being like, what the hell,
Yeah.
It would have been even more interesting that one of the souls that he was fighting was evil Scott Pilgrim.
Nigga Scott
Pilgrim. Was Chan, Liu Kang's brother.
Yeah, that would have been cooler.
Yeah. That one I would have understand is like he's fighting his brother and he's having a conversation with his brother, obviously, then like he realized, then he finally overcomes it, and then he beats his brother, or his brother just vanishes because he knows the truth. And then they go into the fight with Shang Tsung because he has finally overcome everything else that was put in front of him. and then he goes and he conquers the mad villain, and they have an epic fight, right?
Yeah.
And the finish of that fight, instead of the fireball, should have been what Liu Kang does, is that 360 wheel kick, the cartwheel kick to the uppercut, which I think everybody wanted to see that at least one time in this movie. And what a way to do it is not even just the finisher, the uppercut. Like that was like the main move. The uppercut and the sweep are like the main moves that everyone did in Mortal Kombat.
Uppercut was used if you didn't know how to do a finisher, a fatality. Uppercut was the easiest one because they would fall into the spikes. So
yeah. So if you were going to finish off Shang Tsung, you should do the bicycle kick to the uppercut, which is what his fatality was in the first one anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You should have finished it off with that so that people would have been like, all right, cool. We got to see fan service yet. This is an epic fight. But I agree with you that pause slowdown on the fight made no sense and really didn't really do much for the fight.
Yeah.
I said I liked it. I liked what I meant when I said I liked it. I liked the first half of that fight where it was just like just pure fighting, and then they slowed it down to like, whatever, to a crawl.
Yeah, and then to top it all off, Sonya still didn't feel like she got her payback on Shang either. Like, I kind of wanted her to fight Shang too, and maybe got her ass kicked, but whatever. It is what it is. The movie had a good, I guess, would you say the movie had a good pace?
Yeah, I mean, for an hour, for a 100-minute movie, so I mean, like an hour, 41 minutes. He really didn't feel like an hour and 41 minutes to me, per se.
Okay.
Like it felt like it was where it needed to be. I just wish that what they did with it, with the time that they had, was a little bit different and more meaningful.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, and then the ending of the movie, which sets you up for Annihilation, which, is there.
Yeah. I think that they could have done a sequel, and they didn't need to have that particular scene at the end, regardless. Like, you didn't need to have a setup for the next thing. You could have just ended it, and then if they wanted to do a sequel, they do a sequel. So
yeah. I think it would have been nicer if they did something a little bit more sneaky, as far as like something that would tease the next one instead of be so blatant now. Because I mean, obviously the Shang Tsung we saw, or the Shao Kahn we saw in the first one is not the Shao Kahn we saw in the second one. So
yeah,
that was a pretty big disappointment.
But the real star of this movie is the music. The music was amazing. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So, we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 21, or not the game Mortal Kombat 21, but Mortal Kombat 2021. So, just a quick list of things that you feel that this movie could have done differently that you hope that they incorporate in this next movie, besides being rated R, because we already know. What are some of the things you would like to see?
The stages that are set for each fighter.
Okay.
And they take advantage of that. Because I already assume by the trailer that I think they're going to accomplish people's abilities that makes them stand out. I saw the Kano laser eye. I saw, Scorpion's, his rope knife move. Scorpions, like, you saw the improvements of those. So I think that's already going to be accomplished for me. I want the stage sets to be good. I want them to be like really, really good. Like, we saw just little here and there, and then we saw some stuff like a little bit from another dimension per se. I want them to lean on it. Like, how is this tournament going to work? Is it one of those, the tournament already started from where you are and we're just working our way there? Because apparently it looks like they're not going to an island by the looks of it. It looks like the tournament is starting already. We don't know who's fighting who yet. But I just hope whatever it is, I hope the stage setting is going to be good. And hopefully that the story that they're trying to lean towards of what is Mortal Kombat as an investigation. I hope they lean more towards that too. Like, make it sound like a mystery. Like, what is this? Why are people being selected? What's with this tattoo? Instead of just like, we get there and then they throw that story out the window, you know? So, but my number one is, if I had to say Nom, make the stage set for these fighters really memorable. So that's what I want.
Okay, cool. For me, I mean, you guys have had, for Mortal Kombat 2021, you guys have years and years of content. So first off, don't mess it up, because I think a lot of people are actually excited for this. For me, though, I would say I would like to, you know, do what you got to do and have fun with it, but give us a journey of some sort, like something to buy into, something to learn from this movie, where, you know, we talk about how shallow it is, and like make the characters that people care about, you know, be awesome, you know?
Awesome. Yes.
Have them be awesome. I mean, we know they're going to lose, but at least give them their moments. Like, you know, give them all their moments so that we can be like, yes, they had their moment. We can be excited and talk about that moment.
Yeah, I want some ooh moments. Like, ooh, I want those moments.
Exactly.
I want those moments, man. That'd be awesome. So,
Like that. Yeah, I absolutely agree. So it's like, that's what I want to see. I want to see, you mean, have fun with it because you guys have content, but give us some moments, give us some shine for all the characters, and give them things that make them familiar to all of us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do that and then let us buy into that story and see like the downfall of whoever they decide to kill off, you know, at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And don't set up for a sequel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please don't set up for a sequel.
Yeah, just no
All right.
cliffhanger. Yeah. So, all right, are we ready for awards, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'll go first. My award is called "Are You Finished Yet?" award, and this is like the best finishers in the movie, or fatalities for whatever I can find here. The first one up is Sonya Blade when she breaks Kano's head, or his neck, when he says, "Give me a break." So she did the pleasure. Johnny Cage against Scorpion, where he grabs the shield from that's spiked up and reflect his Scorpion's fire breath blast, followed by a cut to the neck and the chest, and then, you know, Scorpion blew up. Luke Kane, when he threw a bucket of water towards Sub-Zero while he was forming a move, and it became a giant icicle and stabbed him through. And then the last one is, to me, is the bicycle kick Johnny did to Reptile back into the stone body. But that's not the finisher. The finisher is when he stepped on his guts to finish it off.
Well, when he stepped on Reptile's head, yeah.
Yeah, it's his head. That's the finisher. So, anyone
The
you want to
Bruce Lee
add?
finish.
Yeah, any you want to add?
Yeah, when Johnny Cage let Goro fall off the side of the cliff.
Okay.
Well, I think he stepped on his hand, right? I forgot.
No. Goro was still trying to climb up.
Oh, yeah. And he was like, this is where you fall.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, number one for me is the Johnny Cage and the Scorpion fight, because that was the bloodiest and that was the coolest. So that is my number one pick. Nom?
We didn't really talk about that fight all that much. But
what, the Johnny and Scorpion fight?
Well, because it was a bunch of lava that was flying out of his body, hellfire and brimstone.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I said he blew up. So.
Well, no, I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, you know, he's cutting him up and there's a bunch of lava like flying out. It's like, wouldn't that burn? Like,
see, you just don't ask those questions, man. Like, Johnny made it out. It's Johnny. Johnny had the best fights. You know, like, he's the star. The star doesn't die, and they made sure in this movie that stuck to the movie that Johnny doesn't die. He never gets hurt. Yeah. He never really get hurt. He still looks good. Never looks dirty. He always looks clean.
Exactly.
Yeah. Never took his shirt off either.
So the fatality that I would like to have is Sonya breaking my neck.
Okay.
Because she is a very beautiful person. and I wouldn't mind her breaking my neck to end my life.
Good for you, Nom. Good for you.
I'm gonna go with the classic Bruce Lee kill with where he stomps on a reptile's head.
Okay.
Because I thought that was a pretty cool fight in itself, and I think the bicycle kick setup into where he's just like, ah, but he didn't get that. He didn't get that Bruce Lee face where he's just like stepping on him and turning his face like, wow.
Right. Then everybody would call it out. That is from Enter the Dragon. So,
Enter the Dragon.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
All right. So my award is from a movie called Best of the Best, which is a fighting movie, which also is a tournament that's way better than this tournament. It's for the best fight in this movie. So nominees are not Kano and Sonya. Johnny Cage and Scorpion. I think that's one that we've been touching on. Johnny Cage, Sonya, Scorpion, and no, not Sonya. Johnny Cage and Scorpion. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Shang Tsung, Liu Kang, and Reptile, and Chan and Shang Tsung. No, just kidding.
Well, you don't want to do Liu Kang and Kitana, before you say anything, that fight is so funny because I feel like Shang Tsung should have called him out because, the Kitana and Liu Kang fight, they were kind of wrestling and fighting, but they were giving information. I feel like Shang Tsung was like, you act like I can't hear you. I can hear everything you're saying.
Exactly.
Like, you guys are not far. Every fight's been on the beach. You guys are not making this simple. Stop talking. Fight.
Exactly.
But no, that fight is hilarious. Go on.
No, absolutely. Like those are the major fights. Next, I joked about the whole Chan and Shang Tsung one. Where Shang Tsung is just holding Chan's head up.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful fight.
Is this your brother?
Yeah. Is this your bro?
Did you lose this?
Like, those are the main fights. So, Jeremy, which one would you go?
Oh, you know it. You know which one.
Johnny Cage?
Yeah, you know it. Johnny Cage had the best fights in the movie. All right? For all you listeners and looking at me, Johnny Cage had the best fights. And he shouldn't have had the best fights. It should have been Kane. But it isn't. It's Johnny, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go with the Reptile and Liu Kang fight personally. So, I go with that fight because it really did speed up and actually they fought it out like two people who are martial artists fought it out. The thing that really kind of randomly threw me off guard on the Johnny Cage fight was when he started doing like little pirouettes and like bar flipping.
Oh yeah, the acrobatic stuff. Like,
I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that threw me off on that. But I mean, it was a lot shorter than that fight was a lot longer than the Reptile Liu Kang fight. So I give that one props. If you would have eliminated that, I would have.
I think what hurts that fight to me is Reptile never spit acid. That's what I wanted. I wanted Reptile to spit acid because Reptile was going to lose, but I wanted him to at least try to do something that makes him like, why are you called Reptile? Like, I never got that, that moment. Like,
Besides being a reptile, a CG reptile, that was horrible.
Yeah, that wasn't enough for me, Nom. That wasn't enough. I needed some acid spitting. I needed that. Because it already didn't make sense how he became what he was when he fought Liu Kang. So if you're going to go that ridiculous, spit some acid. So.
He didn't have to spit acid. He could have used his forked tongue to lick Liu Kang's face to figure out where he's at the fight,
I would have took that too. I don't care. Something than different. The CG looking thing.
The CG looking chameleon, whatever the hell you are.
Yeah. That Kitana knew the whole time and didn't say nothing.
So that does it for our talk on Mortal Kombat. There is our awards. The last thing we talk about is Rotten Tomatoes. The tomato meter. People review this. Critics, normal people like you and me. I mean, not like you as in Germany, but like you as in the people who are watching us are actually watching the screen behind me now or listening to us.
You.
Yeah. So the two scores, because I didn't actually write down how many people actually scored everything.
It don't matter.
But critics gave this movie a 44%. Audience gave this movie, a 57%. So, Jeremy.
No. You go first this time. I did
Okay,
I
cool.
did the awards. You go first.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear your
So
pick.
I will tell everyone why the music in this movie was the best thing in this movie, and you can go ahead and tell them why you think. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with the audience score 57. We nitpick this movie, and we're going to nitpick everything we talk about just because it's something that, normal conversation, if you're just going to have fun with it, you're going to have fun with trying to figure out what it is, why it is. This makes sense. Why did we enjoy this movie so much when we were younger,
Because we were just happy to see those characters on the screen.
Yes, I agree. But, needless to say, the music was the best part of this movie. Logically, this movie made no sense, but that's not always why we watch these movies, right? I think this one was as a gamer. This movie was the best game movie for a long time, and was combated by like arguably some other movies like Prince of Persia and whatnot, depending on whether or not you felt those were evenly fair to fight. But this one kind of stayed close to its source and actually was a fairly solid movie. As far as like a video game movie, and being able to see that actually imagined is kind of like seeing Iron Man for the first time. For a lot of the Marvel people, is being able to see something that you grew up playing or grew up reading or grew up doing something with, and actually seeing it exist and actually work on the big screen. The nostalgia aspect gives me a 57, but it wasn't a great movie, but I'm not going to sit there and say it was absolutely horrible. I mean, it's still kind of fun. Still went by pretty easy.
Where did you watch this on?
I watched it on Vudu.
Okay. So, did you feel like certain scenes in that movie felt like theater work, and then some of it felt like straight to TV?
So I blame that on more of the directing, and I blame the director because of the colors and the hues that he liked to use throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, but I also think it's because of the high definition and how what kind of TV you have, because some of it makes it feel like when it comes to just downtime while they're walking and talking, it almost feels like man, this feels like this is straight a TV movie. But then when it comes to fight scenes and stuff, I feel like this feels like this is a theater movie. It was a little weird. This movie is entertaining, but now going back to it, I didn't have as much fun as I wish I had for this movie. I think Johnny was the star of this movie. I think Johnny carried this movie for me. And this is a movie that I would have a hard time later on to go back to, and just like, it's tough. At least like with Mario Brothers, yes, I would say Mario Brothers is definitely worse than this movie, but at least that movie was trying to me in a weird way. Like, ridiculous how it is, I feel like it was trying to do something different to make a story work. Here, I feel like they had everything they need, and they just didn't use it. So I'm with the critics. I'm a 44. I think it's 44. Is it 44?
Yeah, it's 44.
It's 44. Yeah. Yeah. Because at least here, there were so many opportunities. And I feel like that they banked on the name itself and having these characters be in the movie enough to carry it. And it worked. I mean, here I am revisiting this movie, and this movie set on $1 billion or over like a bunch of $1 million. So apparently they did something right. They worked for them. But Then we got Annihilation. So, but yeah, no, I'm on the opposite boat on this one. So, and it's funny because it's the same way I did with Bloodsport too. So, but yeah.
Was it the same way with Bloodsport?
Yeah, like Bloodsport, I gave it the lower score, and you gave it a higher score than me.
Did we? I don't know. I thought we both evened out on Bloodsport.
No. Yeah, weirdly enough, because like I said for Bloodsport, like I like it, but I didn't like some of the characters they did on there and such. But we could talk about that later. But yeah, I'm a 44. So yeah. As you know, this is part of the In-Game Bots program that we're gaming and other variety shows. If you're on YouTube watching us, thank you so much for watching us. Leave a comment down below. We would love to hear your thoughts about Mortal Kombat. What side do you lie on in the tomato meter? And tell us your favorite part, or did they fulfill the characters? If you're a listener, thank you so much for listening. Remember, to find all our listening spots, you can check out our Linktree by visiting us on Twitter and Facebook to find our Linktree that continue to all our listening sites, all our watching spots and everything like that. And we would love for you to be part of that and subscribe and be a member and enjoy all our other great content on there. But this is not it. We're going to be coming back, with the 2021 edition that is Mortal Kombat, and talk about our thoughts and try to compare and see what worked and didn't work and whatnot. So with that, thank you so much. And we will catch you on the next tournament. Mortal Kombat!